I just want to say I can't believe Antonio Brown's back in the league. Like it's crazy.
Right here.
Monday night game, Stummy. And if you're tuning in to our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe to this video, to our channel. We'd greatly appreciate it. We're putting out content daily for you to win you this week, win you that championship. All right, Stummy, let's dive into this Monday night matchup here. We got Tampa Bay, who is looking possibly like one of the best teams in NFL right now, really starting to hit their stride. They are going up against the New York Giants at the New York Giants. This is a 46-point over-under, but Tampa Bay is favored by 10.5 points. No major surprise there. Yeah, right? All right, so let's just dive into the Tampa Bay side of the ball here. You've got Chris Godwin dealing with a broken finger. Expected that he will miss this week, and then we'll have to pay attention to that, see how much more extended time he misses. But
well, Bruce Arians, I mean, if you saw his comments, he came out and he said, it's optimistic if you think that he misses just 1 week. So definitely stay tuned. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely stay tuned.
Interesting.
And he might miss 2 or 3. So
okay. So with that said, how do you see that affecting Tom Brady, who has been a very solid quarterback and kind of getting put back on the map for starting quarterbacks, and then this wide receiver core, Mike Evans, and then you're gonna have to start talking about you've got Scotty Miller there now, and then next week they'll get AB. So what do you see from this week? Where would you go with the pass catchers? Where do you feel comfortable, and do you feel comfortable streaming Tom Brady again this week?
I just want to say I can't believe Antonio Brown's back in the league. Like it's crazy. It's kind of crazy that he's back here. Yeah, I mean, weapons galore for Tom Brady. As far as streaming Tom Brady, like he's a starter, right? Like every week starter, like you're throwing him out there. This week, it's tough. New York Giants, like this game has a risk. Number one, before we even talk about it, like it has a risk of being postponed to Tuesday or whatnot, maybe even till later week, because the Giants. Like 4 out of 5 of their starting O linemen, like they all are
tested positive with COVID.
Well, tested positive, or like there was a scare as far as like contact tracing goes. But I'm sure if you guys are listening, Whisper Nation, you guys have a little bit more information now. As of working this on Thursday, so new information might be coming out. But Tom Brady, I think he threw 5 touchdowns last week, or 4 touchdowns last week, or something like that. He went off, and I don't think they're going to need him this much this week. So I think this could be a game where it'd be a trap for Brady owners where you're playing him coming off a monster week, but you have Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, big lead. They might just not need to throw the ball as much, but you're rolling Tom Brady out there. What other options are there? Like I'll play Ryan Tannehill over Brady. I'll play who else? I'm not playing Drew Brees over him. I'm not playing Jimmy G over him.
Or Ben Roethlisberger.
Not playing Ben against the Ravens. Like like Tom Brady, like you're going to be starting him if you have him. So fire him up with full confidence. Yeah.
Okay. Mike Evans, even though he should get Bradbury on him, you're still starting him, right?
Yeah. Don't bench your studs, guys. Like don't. Fantasy's not this hard. Like you would feel worse if Mike Evans went off for 20 points on your bench than if you were to feel. If you put up like 5 points in your starting roster, like you're going to feel worse in option A, right? So Mike Evans, he leads all Tampa Bay wide receivers in red zone targets. We've seen Brady's affinity to throw and look to him in the end zone. He hasn't had a single red zone or end zone target in the last 2 weeks. I think that changes again this week. I think he sees like 2 or 3 at the very least. And I think, he can find the end zone. If you look at the splits between Mike Evans' games when Godwin is and isn't active, it's kind of glaring.
Yeah, it's quite surprising too. All right, do you feel confident in starting Scotty Miller? Tyler Johnson has shown flashes as a rookie. I do like his future in this league. And then you've got Rob Gronkowski who's starting to reemerge again. Yeah,
I think Gronkowski, like you can definitely stream him for sure. I'd rather start Gronk over Evan Ingram because. Gronk can actually catch passes, unlike the other option.
Gronk or Hunter Henry? Gronk or Hunter Henry rest of the season?
Give me Gronk.
Yeah.
Give me Gronk rest of the season. Yeah. I think Gronk is back in football shape. He's getting back up there.
I agree.
I think he's going to be a solid weapon for these guys down the line. But Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson, I'd like to talk about them a little bit because I know Whisper Nation's probably debating starting Scotty after last week's performance. They like how he looked and he got it done if you picked him up and you played him after trusting him 2 weeks ago, when he threw an absolute dud.
Yeah.
So the Giants are allowing the 11th most wide receiver fantasy points, 32.8. I do believe that Mike Evans takes a majority of that, right? Like Mike Evans is probably going to be the high scoring wide receiver in Tampa Bay this week. But I want to show you guys this or kind of explain the splits when Godwin is out and when Godwin is in, right? So outside of week 4, when Scotty Miller saw 7 targets, Scotty's rate of seeing targets per route run has dipped when Godwin has actually been out of the lineup. And the opposite is true for Tyler Johnson. The last game that Godwin missed, Tyler Johnson saw 79% snap market share, which was the highest on the season for him. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because he's also a slot receiver. They're using Tyler Johnson in the slot. He saw 35 of his snaps in the slot in week 5 when Godwin was out. And he only has 3 targets in the last 2 weeks, but 2 of them are red zone targets. So he's seeing the money touches. He has a touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks. And Rich Rebar, he tweeted that slot performances against the New York Giants, just to kind of take note here, Juju Smith-Schuster went 6 for 69 and 2 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp had 5 for 69 and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 8 for 124. And Greg Ward, 5 for 42 and a touchdown. So I like Tyler Johnson over Scotty Miller this week for sure.
Love that deep dive. I love that. All right. Jumping over to the New York side of the ball, it won't be a whole lot to talk about here. Are you starting I'll just put this out there. Are you starting anyone on this team?
Absolutely not. Especially this week. If they can't field an offensive line, I'm staying very far away from this offense. I think Tampa Bay defense might put up 2 touchdowns themselves. Danny Dimes, we've seen his tendency to turn over the ball at least once a game. And I think, he probably turns it over 3 or 4 times this game. I don't like this matchup at all for any of these pass catchers. I don't like Evan Ingram. I don't like Sterling Shepard. I don't like Darius Slayton. The only one I would be willing to flex or throw out there would probably be Golden Tate. And I say that because Sean Murphy Bunting, who's the nickel cornerback for Tampa Bay, he's allowing a 91% catch rate. He's allowing a 1.6 yard per route run. Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis, by the way, the outside cornerbacks, they're allowing less than 1 yard per route run, both of them. And Sean Murphy Bunting is actually allowing the 5th most fantasy points per route amongst all slot cornerbacks in the league. So offenses are just targeting Sean Murphy Bunting because they can't go to the outside, they're going to the slot receiver. So I like Golden Tate as a flex option. Not expecting much, but temper expectations.
All right, and then obviously, clearly, if the Giants are missing their whole offensive line, you're not going to want to roll out any of these running backs. And then plus, it's looking like Devontae Freeman's a little banged up. You got Wayne Gallman, who looked to be the guy that took over the carries there. So yeah, I would steer clear of all of that as well. All right, Summy, that does it for our complete matchup breakdown, and that does it for the Monday night football game. We appreciate you so much, buddy. It was great hopping on the 1s and 2s with you once again and diving over these matchups. You can find Summy once again on Twitter. He's the Sultan of Stats, as we like to say. You can find him on Twitter at SummyTFW. And I'm your host, Johnny Game Time. And we're the Fantasy Whisperers. Until next time, we're out. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.